Okay. My name is George, and this is Florian, and that's Claudine, and we are going to talk about our network model. So we looked at the role of epigenetics and other factors in modulating sensory processing sensitivity with people living with autism disorder. So why epigenetics? So we thought, epigenetics is it's a really interesting concept in genetics where there is a change in gene expression without changing the genetic code itself. And that has so many implications, and autism spectrum disorder is one of those. So in our model, we looked at feedback loops and checked on how we can how stimuli can influence sensory processing sensitivity with individuals that live with autism spectrum disorder. And we also looked at the environmental factors that factor into the whole genetic scenario, as we will see later. So one of the things that happens in epigenetics is modification of histone proteins, the other one being methylation of the DNA chain and sometimes non-coding mRNAs. So as you can see here, we have like a cell and like a nucleus, which would take one chromosome out and then go down to like the histone level. We see epigenetic influences adding two methyl groups there and here, changing the histone, and that has several outcomes, and one of those is changing in the way the brain develops. So with this graph here, it's schematic to show the different factors that come together to leading to autism spectrum disorder. As you can see, at the point of conception, we have things already going on. Maybe the mom is in quite a toxic environment, and that changes how the baby develops in the womb. And sometimes we do have stochastic variations and sudden changes in gene structure. They all feed into the epigenetic load. But sometimes we do have the gene-environment interactions. And again, that depends on a range of things. Most of them are inherited. And if all of that comes together, we do get compromised developmental pathways, plus other things that occur again in development, like oxidative stress, oxygen-free radicals, and antioxidants, and how all of that leads to abnormal brain development. And at the point of birth, we get postnatal brain maturation. That can also be affected by the state of the birth, how the child comes out of the womb, and other factors that surround that, leading to dysfunctional neuropsychiatry and then autism spectrum disorder. I will hand over to Claudine to take us through some of the scenarios we looked at.
Yes, so as you know, everybody here and everybody in the world have different sensitivity. So some people are hypersensitive and other are hypersensitive. And research has shown that most of people with an ASD, autistic spectrum disorder, have more sensory peculiarities than neurotypical people. It can be because of different things, but it can be because of what George said just before. And so what else? Here you have the sensitive threshold, and this threshold depends on different things. So it depends on the genetic part, what we have said before. It depends on the physical conditions. For example, if you are exhausted or if you are stressed, you have not the same threshold, sensitive threshold. And it depends on also on the environment, because if it's, for example, a very noisy room, your threshold will not be the same. So if you have a stimulus which comes in front of you, so you can have different behavior. The first one, you avoid the stimulus. Okay, for example, it's a big light and you avoid the stimulus. The second, and it depends on your threshold. Maybe you will avoid it, but you will not avoid it. And then the other possibility is that you are just disturbed by the stimulus. Another possibility, you have no reaction. Okay, there is a stimulus, but my threshold is very, very high, so no reaction. And the last one, with sensory sec. For example, you have a ball in front of you, which is very smooth, and you want to touch it, and finally you touch it, and you feel so good. Oh yes, I like it, and so what is going on? If you choose to be like this, or like this, you have an emotion. Okay, so you have a self-emotion. It can be a negative emotion, for example, oh, I don't like this light, or a positive emotion. If you, for example, you like the ball you are touching, okay? And it's the same for the other people in the room. If they look at you and they can see that you are with your ball, you are very happy, they can be happy for you. Okay, so they can also have positive and negative emotion. And after, so you do something because of the stimulus, this or this, and then you have an emotion, the other have an emotion, and those emotions will have an impact on the next behavior. For example, if I do something and everybody here say, wow, it's bad, I'm upset, you shouldn't go do this. So maybe next time I will not do it anymore, okay? So there is a link between this and this, okay? So we have used this to create our model. And here you can see our model. So this is the base level, the base level. And you can see first all the stimulus things. So X1, X2, X3. So you have the stimulus. And after, you will have a behavior. So we can have 4 different behaviors, avoidance and so on. So you have the behaviors, and then what after? You have the emotions. So the emotions. Okay, so you have the emotions here. So from yourself and from the others, and the emotions have an impact on the behaviors. But you also have, the threshold depends on the environment and the physical conditions. So it can be the stress, but it can be something else. So here the representation state of the stimulus is impacted by the environment, by the stress, and by the last part.
Yeah, and the last part is the genetic part. As you can see here, we have different levels. On the fourth level, we have the epigenome. As we had earlier, it modifies gene expression. So it is modifying the DNA level, which is on the third level, and then that changes when it's transcripted to get the mRNA level, and then after that we get like enzymes or amino acid or protein chains on the very first level, which is then all linking back to this step here. But you can see there is another link from X17 to 36. So this is the environment again filtering into the epigenetic level, changing and adapting all the processes down below.
Okay, so this model is really complex. So I'm going to show you 2 examples to better understand this model. So in the first case, we are looking at a neurotypical person. So it's someone who is not autistic. When she goes out in the street, there is a very sunny weather. And so she wants to put on sunglasses to be able to avoid the bright stimulus. When she looks around her, she sees that other people also put sunglasses or hats, so it comforts this action. And so conceptual representation of this story is presented here. So at first, when she goes out, she's disturbed by the stimulus, which make her grow her negative emotions, and which has a direct impact on her physical condition because she's uncomfortable. And other people might tell her to put on sunglasses. And so when she does this action, she then avoids the stimulus, which has it has a positive impact on her emotion. So she keep the sunglasses because it's great for her. And this is the action expected by the others. So they are also happy about this reaction. And so with our model, we have been able to represent this. So here, first of all, the two curves here represent the disturbance and the stress. So they are really correlated. At first, she sees the light, so she's disturbed and stressed. But then she starts to avoid. So the avoidance action is one of the curve. I think it's the red one. So as she starts to avoid, the stress decreases. And we can also observe that the other people's emotions are becoming positive toward this reaction. So they are happy to see her put on the sunglasses. We wanted also to compare this with, so in the second graph, we have exactly the same conditions, but we wanted to see the impact of the environment on her emotion and her behavior. So basically, she is now in a very overstimulating environment. So for example, there's a lot of noise, or the temperature is very high. And so we can observe that her stress stabilizes at a high level because she cannot avoid all the stimulus. She can only avoid the sunlight by putting on sunglasses. And so also we can see here that the avoiding action is even stronger because it's to compensate the fact that she can't interact with the rest. And we haven't represented, we don't show it here, but the environment also has an impact an impact on her genetics. And so basically because of the environment, she becomes more sensitive to the sunlight. And so now I'm going to talk you through a second case of an autistic person. So in this case, she's not disturbed by the sunlight, and she even likes to look at the sun because it's stimulating and she enjoys it. So there are three major differences with the previous condition. So here she is a sensory seeker, and it increases her positive emotions. So she keeps doing it because it's a look back like this. And so here we can see that the genetic has a really low impact on her. No, sorry. She because of her genetic background, she is less sensitive to looking at the sun. So this is why she can keep looking at the sun. Also, the other people's opinions have less impact on her than her own opinions. She enjoyed the stimulus, so she kept doing it. But the other people's opinions still have a little bit of impact on her because they suggest her to avoid the stimulus. But we will see in the graph that in the end she will not avoid. So here, because she's staring at the sun, her stress decreases basically, and she still hear the suggestion of other people to avoid it, but her sensory seeking behavior is still stronger than the avoiding behavior. And so since she keeps sensory seeking, the other people have a negative opinion of her. And this is the last curve.
Cool, thank you. Before we go to our conclusion, I just wanted to state that epigenetics can have both negative and positive influences. And in some cases, people have increased like resistance to stress and anxiety, as Florian has explained. And sometimes people do have enhanced memory, improved immune function, and delayed aging. But yes, we thought our network model, can be adapted in so many ways. Factors like social interactions and overstimulating environment do affect how a person reacts. And we thought we could also include like possible external factors and also made some oversimplification with some of the cases that we took. But yeah, we can change it by modifying other features like speed factors and threshold values. Is there anything else you guys would like to add on that now? Right, so any questions for us?